Alright, so today I am going to be showing you what a Google form is, how to make one, and then most importantly, how to grade one. So I like to use this in like a quiz type format, and so I have 150 students throughout the day, so if there's something that can do all the grading for me, it makes everything much easier. So right off the bat, I thought I would show you what a Google form looks like. This is a Google form I made for my students. I was actually going to be gone at a professional development one day, and especially towards the end of the school year, I didn't want to miss a day of instruction. So I made a video for my students to watch while I was gone and then questions to answer. And so I'll show you how to make a form in just a second, but it's really neat because you can do 3 different pages or 4 different or however many pages you want. And so this is always the first page. I always start off my forms with what is your name, so that just like on their paper they have to write their name. Well, just on the Google form I need to know whose responses are whose. And then what hour are you in, which of my classes, and that way if they take them out of order, if I have absent kids, I can sort them by class hour. If you know how to make videos, or if you get there, I always upload mine to my YouTube channel, and then I can just put them in my forms really, really easily. And then I always do a password, because a lot of my students, oh, I don't want to watch the video, I'll just go see if I can answer the questions. Well, I wanted them to watch the video. So the only way that they could get on to the questions was if they watched the video, and in the video I put the password. And before they could move on to the questions, they have to submit the password correctly. So if they tried to put in the password was 2, it says wrong password, and so they physically cannot move on to the next page until they put in the right password, which was 374. Now, you also can see that there's some asterisks right here. You have the option to make some questions required. Some teachers make all questions required. I usually only make the name and the hour and the password required, because it's a checkbox you have to check every time, and I honestly start to forget as I'm creating my quiz. So if we put in your name, 5th hour, I watched the video, yay go me, I put in the password 374, and then I can move on to the actual quiz type questions. The first few questions were group questions, and you can see that there's 2 different options here. This question is called a text question, and I like to use these for 1 or 2 word responses. Down here we have a much bigger text box, and these are for more like paragraph or complete sentences. This one's actually wanting them to give a list of 3 things. And you see no asterisk, so these are not required questions. And then we have the solution process. These are straight from the video to see if they were watching them or watched my video or not. And the first few are multiple choice, where there's just one right answer. Here's the question, what's the answer? And then down at the bottom you will see a different type. These are actually check boxes, and these would be like if there's more than one right answer, they could check all that or apply. Now down here at the bottom you can see there's another option that says send me a copy of my responses. Sometimes I have a few issues with my Google Forms, and it's really only happened a handful of times in the 3 years I've been using Google Forms. But occasionally students say they submit it and I don't get their responses, but if they have checked this box, then it sends them an email with all of their responses. So a few times I've had that issue with I don't receive the responses, so the students will just forward me that email, and then I have all of their answers, so they don't have to take it again. And some of my students who are really on top of things always do this. Other students never do this, but it's honestly their choice. And then they just hit submit, and all of the answers come right to me. And so my answers come, and they look like an Excel sheet, and you can see that it timestamps the response, so I can see who did it during class, or maybe who didn't do it during class, who did it. Because like I said, I wasn't here that day, so some of the students maybe did it at home over the weekend, so I could kind of see who was on task and who wasn't on task based on what time they submitted it. And then it gives their name. It also automatically collects their email address. I really like that, because sometimes my students like to be funny and put their name as something like Avogadro, and then I don't know who submitted it, but I can just look at their email address. Plus, after we get done grading it, there's actually an option where I can send them what grade they got on the test automatically as soon as I'm done grading it. That way they know exactly what they got and what they missed, and so on and so forth. And then here's all of the answers that they submitted. And if you notice, down here is my paragraph question. I try not to use that one very often because it gets a little hard to grade sometimes, but you can also change the width of your column to make it easier or harder to grade. But I actually wanted to show you a few of the other question types before I show you how to grade everything. But here's one that I created for the technology retreat that we did last summer. Again, you see what is your name. This is a text style question. Down here we see that this is a multiple choice. This was a check that all apply. This is choose from a list, which is very similar to multiple choice. This one is a scale from 1 to 5. I like these questions a lot when I'm doing like exit slips. How comfortable do you feel with the material that was presented today? Or do you feel confident in your understanding? Do you feel like you could do these problems on your own? And I get a scale of 1 to 5. It gives me some instant feedback. If I'm getting a lot of 4s and 5s, then we're probably ready to move on to the next section. If I'm getting a lot of 1s and 2s, I maybe need to spend a little bit more time on the information covered. You could also, with this type of question, you could also do, I do this for procedures a lot because I teach science, so we're doing scientific method, put these steps in order, the order of the scientific method. What's the first step? What's the second step? So you could also do that because you can increase the numbers all the way to 10 if you would like to. And this one is a grid type question, and I use this a lot for matching. Like you can see here, MHS has the grades 9 through 12. MES is, I actually don't remember. I think it's this one. MIS is the intermediate school. Central Park Elementary, I honestly don't know that one either. Then we have the middle school, and then we have SRTC. And so you could pick, and I do this a lot with vocab when I have several vocab questions, matching type questions. And then again, they hit submit, and it sends me the results straight into this type of form that I already showed you. And so really quick, I'm going to run you through how to make a Google form. So if you go to your Google Drive, there is a create button over here on the left side of the screen, and then you're going to select form, and then a pop-up window will pop up on your computer. And first of all, it'll let you choose the background. There's about 10 or 15 to choose from. They used to have a lot more, but they don't have as many now. I use the book one a lot. There's also the balloon one. I use the notebook paper one a lot as well. So you select what background you want, or you don't have to select one, and then you choose the title. And so I'm going to title this test form. And then I'm going to hit OK. And then it's going to show me, go to my Google form, and honestly it does all the formatting for you. You just have to type in the questions. And so I always like to talk about this up here. It's in the settings. You can check mark that they have to have a R1, a Monett school district login to view this form. If honestly, sometimes I usually uncheck this because if the kids don't remember their password, they can't get logged into their GApps account, and then they can't access the form. Or sometimes I want kids to take the form or like when I was presenting at a technology conference, a lot of them didn't work for Monett, and so it's just you can keep it checked if you want. You can uncheck it. I like this one because then I can automatically collect their username so then I can send them emails. And then you can also show the progress bar at the bottom of the form pages, which if we look back at the form we took a second ago, we can look down at the bottom, and this is the show the progress form. So after this page, they were at 33%. And we already titled it. You can put this is the form description is where I put the instructions. I always make the first page question, what is your name? And then that needs to be text. I always make the next question what hour are you in? So I just come down here to add item, and I like to make that the choose from a list. Hour and choose from a list. So then you can put first hour, second hour, third hour, so however many that you want, and then you hit done. And here's the check mark for if you want this to be a required question, and I'm going to say yes. And then the one that everybody really likes is the password feature. And to do the password feature, I do another text question, and my question title is password. And then in order to do this, you have to click on your advanced settings, and you have to click data validation. I want them to submit the correct answer. And so you can pick whatever number you want to. You want the number to be equal to, and then say you want the number to be 15. And then again, you want this to be a required question so that they have to submit it. And then if they get the wrong answer, I always put wrong password. And then if they put in the wrong number, then at the bottom it's going to say wrong password, try again. So that they know what they did incorrectly. and then you hit done. And this is always what I like to be on my first page. I don't like for them to see the rest of the questions because, like I mentioned earlier, sometimes I had students from first hour, when I had the quiz turn on first hour, students I had later in the day would then try to go look at the questions, and there was a little bit of cheating issue. So it took me a long time to come up with the password. And so now that I have the password, the students can't see the forms before I am ready for them to, without me having to constantly go in and turn them on and off and on and off, because you can actually turn the forms on and off. Up here under tools or responses, you can turn off the form by checking accepting responses, and then it turns off the form. So right now it's not accepting responses. And so you could turn them off, but I always would get forgetful between classes, or I would get sidetracked by teaching, and I would forget to turn them off. And so sometimes I had students trying to cheat the system. But now that there's a password, no problem. So in order to make this all on one page, next step is I'm going to add a page break. And then I'm going to title this page, The Quiz Questions. And again, you could put more instructions right here. And then this will appear on a second page, and you can start adding your quiz questions. So if you want to add a text question, I already showed you. Let's do a multiple choice. You type in your question, and then you can put your answers, and you can put as many answers as you want to, and then you hit done. You can do a, let's do the grid question. These are scale of 1 to 5 questions. So, how confident do you feel in the material? And you could do a, oh wait, this is the grid, sorry. This is the matching. So in the column, I always like to put the words at the top because there's not as much room. In the column heading, you could do element and mixture and compound, and then you could put the definitions. One type of element, and I can't type today apparently, or two or more elements, etc. And then you hit done, and it kind of gives you a preview of what it's going to look like, so then you can go back through and edit it, and then the kids can do matching, kind of like I showed you a second ago. You can also do the scale, which is the 1 to 5. How confident do you feel? Material. And then you could increase the scale all the way up to 10 if you want to. And then they could choose a 5 or a 2 or a 3 or however confident they feel. And this is what it would look like to them. And then down here, I always take this off because I don't want them to submit more than one, especially if I'm going to do this as a quiz. And then you could publish and show a link to the results of this form to all respondents. I don't suggest you do that because then they could see everybody else's answers. You can also choose to let them edit their responses after submitting. I choose not to let them do that either because I usually use this in a quiz type format. I want them to take it and give me their questions, and then that should be it. But those are options. I'm sure there's ways that we could figure that out to everybody. But the very important part, when you go to share this with your students, make sure you share the link of the live form, not this form. And so you basically, I just click view live form. It'll open up a new tab. And then this is the link that I share with the students, not the previous link. All right, so the part that I'm sure everybody wants to know is how to grade it. So I'm actually going to go back over to the quiz that my students took a few weeks ago. So here are the their name, their timestamp, the username. So I'm going to grade this. And usually it would probably take me a few hours to grade all 150 responses that my students have created. But especially since I wasn't here that day, I don't want to come back with 150 quizzes to grade. And so Flubaroo, which is the program, is going to do all the grading for me. And so you see right here, there's a Flubaroo tab. But in the form we just created, there is, there's no Flubaroo tab. And so Flubaroo is the program that is going to grade it for you. So I'm going to show you how to install this really quick. So to install that program, we go to Insert, and it's actually a script. And then a pop-up box will pop up. And then you're going to type in Flubaroo. And yes, I know that's an interesting name. And you hit search, and then it pops up right here, and you're going to hit install. And then it's going to ask you for permission here in just a second, and you're going to give it permission. Since this is already installed, it won't pop up for me, but it's going to ask you for permission, and then you just click authorize, and then it will pop up on your Google form right here. And then all we need to do is grade this. And so we go grade assignment, and then a new pop-up form will pop up in just a second. So it's preparing to grade this. Grading step 1, it's going to ask you how many points you want each question to be with. Well, I don't want their name to be worth points because that just identifies the student. The username identifies them. What hour are you in identifies it. And then the rest of these are just questions, and you can change the point values. One is worth 1 point, the other one's worth 3 points, however much you want. And then the password, I'm going to say identify student as well. So that one's not worth a point. And then I hit continue. And then the second step pops up, and basically this step is going to be asking you, what do you want me to grade the quiz against? And so I usually go through, after I create it, I like to test my form, and as I'm testing it to make sure everything works correctly, I make an answer key, and I always title it key. And then I scroll through these and I find the answer key. I didn't make one for this quiz yet, and so I'm just going to use David's as the key, and I'm going to hit, actually I'm going to use Brett's as the key. And then I hit continue. So basically I'm going to check everybody's answers against Brett's answers. Brett's answers are the correct answers, and everybody else's who didn't answer like him is going to be incorrect. And then I hit continue. And then it's going to grade my assignment for me, and it's going to take a few minutes. And then as you can see, it opens up a new spreadsheet down at the bottom. And we will start to see the kids' names start popping up, and we will start to see their responses. And now it says that the grading is complete. And so I'm going to view my grades. And it basically, it tells you the total points, and then it tells you their percentage. And so, again, I graded this off Brett, so maybe he had a few wrong answers. And I set it to turn all the ones red. They get anything lower than a 70%. I tell the program to make that red. And so basically I can go through here and automatically it tells me, oh, they got a 66%. He got an 83%, so on and so forth all the way down. And so then I can just open up my gradebook and I can just type in the percentages straight into my gradebook, and I don't have to grade all 100 quizzes. So what used to take me 2 hours to maybe grade now has taken me 5 minutes, and then another 5 minutes to put them in the gradebook, and then I'm done for the day. And so I recommend using one-word responses. The paragraph text doesn't work very well for Flubaroo, but the one-word answers, the multiple choice, the grid, the matching, every question type except the paragraph works really, really, really good with the Flubaroo. And so then I just put this straight into my gradebook, and I am done. After I have graded all of the quizzes, I can actually send a response or an email to all of the kids who have submitted their username over here, and I can send them an email with all of their right answers or wrong answers, and I can actually choose to send the questions, the right answers, so they can see what they got wrong. But you just go back up here to your Flubaroo tab, and I can say email grades, and then it will give you a few options. And then I can select what is their email address, and that was the username. And then I can include a list of questions and their score, so what they got right, which ones they got wrong. I can actually choose to include an answer key if I want to. And then I can actually type in a little message to the kids like, number 4, a lot of people got wrong, so I threw it out. Or if you would like to retake this or retry, I can email any sort of message that I would like to in here. And then I just hit continue, and it sends all of the kids an email with their grade and the questions that they got right and wrong. Hopefully this is helpful. This was a lot of information. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. I'm Jamie Tackett. I work at the high school, so I'm pretty good at Google Forms. So if you have any questions or you want help utilizing this in your classroom, just send me an email and I can help you.